today because I have to go to a yoga studio for my class today, formal class with my teacher, Sarah Finger. And then I have a day of filming for the artificial intelligence digital Deepak, which is still being created and is in beta. Your participation, by the way, can help the development of digital Deepak, and you can go anytime to digital Deepak AI. So it's www.digitaldeepak.ai, and you can participate in the beta launch and help me develop my mind twin. So today I thought I'll start a little early. Hello Aurora, hello Maria, hello Kelly, hello all my friends from across the world. Hello Saad Munir Bashir, hello Swati, hello Janine, hello Jean Cooper, hello Joe Hamilton, Natalia Snyder. How's my hair, Natalia? She used to be my hairdresser. Okay, we're up to 500 people, so as soon as we get to 1,000, we'll start today's topic. Yes, Sabrina, the digital Deepak AI is the link. digitaldeepak.ai, I think. Try it out and see. Okay, so today what I thought, because we're in interesting times, an election is coming up, the world seems to be in crisis, and there is a lot of polarization and conflict in the world. I've been writing a little bit about the future of leadership, conflict resolution, but today I thought I'd introduce a new theme for both leadership and for conscious evolution. And that new theme is invoking the divine feminine for conscious leadership and also for conscious evolution, because I believe that the future of human evolution and the future of consciousness are exactly the same. We've talked in the past about the future of evolution in terms of the evolution of consciousness, the evolution to higher states of consciousness, Turiya, Turiya Tattva. Okay, Aurora Carlson tells me that digitaldeepak.ai is the correct link. So digitaldeepak.ai is the correct link. I'm going to be filming today, and I'm also going to be improving on it, and your participation can help improve it. So let me now go back to what I was going to say. And I'm not going to interrupt myself right now. So the future of evolution, in my opinion, is the invocation in humans of the divine feminine for higher consciousness beyond Turiya, Turiya Tattva, Bhagavad Chetna, Brahmi Chetna, but also in the direction of more creativity and more vision and a new story. So today I'm going to talk about invoking the archetypal divine feminine in our own being. It doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman or LGBT or non-binary. We all have the same energies in various proportions in our psyche and in our consciousness. And so for as long as humans have been reflecting, and the cognitive revolution started about 30,000 years ago, and for most of this period we've been hunter-gatherers. Obviously, masculine energies have had to dominate for our survival. Masculine physical strength, things like initiative, conquest, also unfortunately, the dark side of conquest and also of aggression and masculinity can be exploitation and predation as well. So whilst the masculine energies have been very important in our evolution throughout history, particularly in the hunter-gatherer age, as the age of agriculture came about 12,000 years ago, and then the industrial age, and now the information age. And as we move beyond the information age, I hope into the age of consciousness, we will see that in order to complete our evolution, it is now time to bring on the divine feminine. So, what is an archetype? An archetype is a concentration of energies, information that exist in our consciousness as states of possibility. So once again, archetypes are themes, motifs, symbolic representations of higher states of consciousness that represent certain themes, motifs, relationships, archetypes, and stories. And these stories are part of our collective consciousness, our cultural and spiritual inheritance that shape our individual behaviors and individual personalities as well. And so throughout history, archetypes have dominated the collective imagination. They are represented as icons, they are represented as heroes and heroines, they are represented as dominant themes, stories, and motifs that drive cultural evolution and ultimately the evolution of consciousness. And in every spiritual tradition across the world, the divine feminine has been invoked as a way to move into the next phase of our evolution as a conscious species, and also for the future of our leadership. I think the male archetype dominating culture has outrun its usefulness. So the feminine archetypes in every spiritual tradition, doesn't matter which part of the world, you go to the Puranas in India, you go to the Buddhist traditions where they talk about Dakinis and divine goddesses and divine beings. In the Vedantic and Puranic tradition, the goddesses like the goddess of abundance, the goddess of wisdom, the goddess of that destroys ignorance, Lakshmi, Saraswati, Durga have all dominated. But there are certain themes that are present everywhere, whether it's Egypt or India or ancient Greece. So for today, because many people are familiar with Western archetypes, let us see how the age of consciousness will be influenced by the divine feminine. So once again, an archetype is a symbolic representation of higher states of consciousness that represents a particular theme, a particular motif, a particular story, a particular context, a particular imagination, a particular creativity that comes with that. Here are the 7 most important feminine archetypes, the divine feminine archetypes that are needed in the world for both conscious evolution and also the future of leadership. And I'm saying this particularly right now, as you know, that there's a lot of polarization in our political discourse, irrespective of who becomes the next leader of the United States or any other country or any other corporation, we need to bring in the divine feminine, both for men and for women, although it's also time for women to be at least 50% of our leadership, if not more, as of course, as I said, that predominantly predatory and aggressive masculine energies have run out their usefulness. Okay, so here are the 7 divine archetypes that we need to all pay attention to. First, Demeter, the energy that we associate with mother. So when I think mother, I think beauty, intuition, nurturing, affection, and tenderness. Okay, we need this in our political discourse. We need this in our leadership. The energy of the mother. Beauty, intuition, affection, nurturing, and tenderness. Okay? Number 1. Number 2, Hera. Hera is the divine feminine of power. There have been many Hera type leaders, from Catherine the Great to, name it, Golda Meir, Indira Gandhi, Bandra Naike in Sri Lanka, etc., etc. But they have been dominantly masculine, in a sense that they've basically, in a way, been influenced by the masculine notions of power. But true empowerment comes from self-esteem, comes from not feeling inferior or superior than anyone else. It also comes from presence and what is called charisma, but mainly presence. Presence, friendliness, graciousness, courtesy, deference, respect, good manners, and true self-esteem. That's the divine feminine, Hera. Hera, the Greek goddess, Hera. The first was Demeter, mother. The third is Artemis in Greece, but also referred to. Hi, Natalie. Thank you for bringing Sam here. So the third archetype is Artemis, the Greek goddess Artemis. In Roman literature, that would be Diana, like as in the name Princess Diana. And Artemis is the divine feminine that connects with nature, is conscious of nature conservation, a connection with our extended body that we call the environment. Understanding that the air is our breath and the rivers and waters are circulation, that the earth is recycling as our body, and the stars are manufacturing the dust, stardust, the atomic dust that goes in our body. So Artemis is very concerned about taking care of both the personal body and the extended body that we call nature. The third feminine archetype, Artemis or Diana. The fourth feminine archetype is Athena, Saraswati in Sanskrit. And Athena takes care of culture, of science, of music, of the arts, of literature. Something very much lacking in our political leadership at the moment. But let's bring in Athena and invoke her energies in our collective consciousness. And so that would be the fourth divine feminine archetype. The fifth would be Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty and sexuality and aesthetics. and Aphrodite represents everything that humans are attracted to, male or female. Seeing beauty is seeing yourself in an object, and experiencing the great love and sensuality that humans are capable of is seeing yourself and your shadows and another person as well, and therefore learning the art of forgiveness and non-judgment. So Aphrodite would be the fifth feminine archetype, representing beauty, sexuality, love, and sensuality. The sixth archetype is Persephone. Persephone is the healer, the alchemist. Who can go deep into the belly of the unconscious, look at all the energies, light and dark, sacred and profane, divine and diabolical, and actually by reshuffling these qualia experiences, create a new form of alchemy and healing. That would be Persephone. And the seventh archetype would be Hestia, the homemaker. Now imagine a government with a president or prime minister who represented in some shape or form at least all these seven archetypes, had access to the seven chakras, consciousness and biology checkpoints, as I call them, was also conscious of leadership as a good listener, emotionally intelligent, fully aware, action-oriented, empowered, taking responsibility, having integrity, having a higher calling, and changing the world. Imagine that. That we had these seven archetypes as the cabinet of a great leader, and extended that in the ecosystem in a distributed leadership. So once again, these would be the archetypes that represent the following themes: motherhood, power, self-esteem, nature, wisdom, art, culture, music, sensuality, sexuality, beauty, healing, alchemy, transformation, and taking care of the home and taking care of the world as our family. As we say in Sanskrit, Vasudev Kutumbukam, the world is my family. So, my dear friends, let us not worry about the great conflicts and the polarization that's happening in the world. Let's perhaps commit to being the change we want to see in the world. And whether we are men or women, it doesn't matter. Let us invoke the great mother, the great powerful heroes and heroines of all time, in the form of these special themes, motifs, stories. That's what true creativity is. It's a quantum leap in context, meaning, purpose, energy, imagination, insight, intuition, creativity, and therefore transformation. Here's to the Divine Feminine. I'm Dr. Deepak Chopra, and with me is Jean Houston. We are in the midst of a course right now on archetypes, so I always take the opportunity to tap into her wisdom. And we want to talk a little bit about the future of our world as it relates to the rise of the feminine archetype. So, Jean, I have always related with about 4 or 5 feminine archetypes. Let me just mention a few. Hera, the goddess of power. Persephone, that deals with the underworld, Demeter, mother, Athena, wisdom, Aphrodite, sex, beauty, spirituality, and then Artemis, the one who's in touch with the nature's forces of nature. Do you think if you brought these, 6 archetypes out there, enlivened them in today's age, that there is any hope for humanity? Because look at the big problems we have right now. Conflict, war, terrorism, a planet that is not sustainable anymore by any standard, the way we are moving, economic and social injustice, and half the world obese and half the world undernourished. So nobody's really healthy anymore. Am I kind of wrong if I think that there's hope? Enliven the feminine archetype.
Oh my, such an interesting question. Well, I think that what you are finding with the feminine archetypes is the rising of herself, the rising of she. You know, my claim to fame is the fact that I work all over the world, and I've worked in some 108 countries. And not in all, but in a considerable number. What I find is that the feminine archetype is rising, whether it's in Africa or Asia. I mean, just looking at the Western world. In the Arab world, certainly it is coming up again, rising very strongly. The Mary archetype, you know, many of these archetypes address these problems, don't they?
They do.
I mean, they do. Hera, the power, the family, the community, the remythologizing, the regenesis of the community. Mother, Demeter, Persephone, the underworld, the catharsis of all our old stuff coming out. I mean, Athena, making civilization work, bringing together the world mind so they can really work together. And then I go around the world and I see, what are women doing? And, you know, something that we laugh about sometimes at the UN, that you find out that about 70% of the work is being done by women. I don't mean just in the fields. I mean, they're calling the conferences, they are enacting the programs, they have the gift of the follow-through. Their emphasis is on process rather than on product, making things cohere, develop, grow, relate. In other words, the creation of a world that works. I'm involved right now with some of the most significant women in the world. We're coming together. We're on Skype regularly. We are designing, from the feminine perspective, a world that works. And with strategy and design, these are all people who've been hands-on, sensory-rich, have enormous experience. And because we need a new lure of becoming if we're not going to give up.
So, and all the things much of this is emerging by itself right now as part of our evolution.
It is part of the automatisms of the creative process.
How can now the
self-creating work of art?
You and I are talking, and people are watching us on YouTube.
Yeah.
And, you know, with a click and a link to Twitter or Facebook, this conversation can be seen anywhere in the world, right?
Yes.
From Israel to Saudi Arabia. I recently gave a lecture in Bahrain, and there were a lot of women there who had come from Saudi and all these countries. And, you know, you and I, at least through the press, have a very different impression of women in these countries. But actually, I was totally surprised. There were neurosurgeons, there were artists, there were novelists, there were technologists. And they came in veils, but then they took off their veils, and the conversation was as intelligent as any.
Yes.
Now, because there's a global brain emerging through the social networks, could we kind of accelerate this? You know, accelerate feminine power, the mother energy, the beauty, the intuition, the nurturing, the tenderness, but at the same time, the power of a Hera. If we created something like this in the world, maybe there is hope for civilization.
Well, maybe these archetypes are real. And maybe they arise at the times when they're deeply needed. I mean, when we first saw the Earth from outer space, we were stunned. We were called into a kind of reverence that we had not had before. Suddenly she was there, our mother, Gaia. And then we looked out, there were no wars, there were no separations. It was this incredible...
No boundaries.
No boundaries. The planet herself in her blue and silver and green floating in the cosmos, the womb of the cosmos. And we felt that we had come home. And I remember being in China at that time, it was around 1981, 82. And I was present when a peasant pulled down the picture of Mao Zedong and he put up in place the picture of the Earth from outer space. So I think that the Earth, the Gaia archetype, is the overarching archetype for Hera, the family, the power, the creative power, for Artemis, the wildness, the care for the ecology, for Aphrodite, for the need for the loving, heartful connection between all people and places, for Athena, who really sees how we can begin to create a world civilization in which there is very deep justice for all people.
And expand our identity.
And expand the identities too.
Go beyond national,
ethnic,
racial,
tribal, into becoming, as I said, we are world people. And this is the first time in human history this has happened, but it needs the spiritual ignition to truly make it happen.
So if you're there in Egypt right now, or you're there in Saudi Arabia, or you're there in Eastern Europe, Russia, China, or anywhere in the United States or India, why don't you organize a community that activates the feminine archetype, and get in touch with Jean? How do we contact you through the internet?
They can find me at jeanhouston.com.
I think we can organize a world movement.
Well, let's organize a world movement. Why not?
Today, this is a world movement.